legislature's already on my side.
Do you?
Plus the city council.
Who's going to oppose it?
That's my point.
That's the point.
I want to see one elected official say it's not necessary. And I got it.
You're a good man.
I'm going before the council.
Good evening, members and guests. We appreciate everyone being here with us this evening. We have a very interesting guest speaker this evening, and I think you'll get a lot out of his presentation. Before we do that, we always ask for a prayer, and please remain standing for the pledge.
Our Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for our veterans. We thank you for their willingness to risk all so that our nation might dwell in peace and safety. May they find the honor and recognition they deserve. In the name of your divine Son, Jesus, we pray that you will heal the physical and psychological wounds some of these veterans have suffered. Bring peace to those who mourn the loss of comrades. We pray that our nation would learn to respect and acknowledge those who have served their country well. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Allen. You know, I was kidding the last time at the last meeting that I was going to try to work it out to where that it wasn't going to be in a church atmosphere, and that some of the people would start sitting up front before going all the way to the back, and then we fill in reverse. But anyhow, I have another thought on that. I was thinking of maybe making the head table in the center of the meeting hall, and then that way I'd be able to get them for sure. You know, hey, I'm just teasing. Some of our guys and gals love to get back there so they can talk a little bit more and have a lot of fun, and we encourage that. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you guys. Judge does not need an introduction. Everyone here, I believe, has known him, has known his family. He's got some of his family with him here this evening, and we appreciate that. Honorable Kaliste Saloom Jr. was born May 15, 1918 in Lafayette, Louisiana. In 1935, valedictorian graduate of Cathedral High School, he received a Bachelor of Arts of High Distinction degree from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, SLI then. In 1939, a doctorate of jurisprudence from Tulane University Law School with all of the COIF and Tulane Law Review honors in 1942. Judge Saloom is married to Yvonne Adele Nassar, and they have 4 children, all holding law degrees, namely Kaliste J. III, Douglas James Current, City Judge of Lafayette, and they're with us here this evening. Lynette Isabel, which is the daughter, and she's also an attorney, staff attorney for U.S. Eastern District Court in New Orleans, and Gregory John, Major at JAG Corps and Iraq Freedom Veterans. They have 11 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. He served in World War I during 1942 to 45 in the United States Army in North Africa, France, and Germany as a special agent in the Counterintelligence Corps with a Battle Stars commemoration of where he captured a Nazi general. In 1946, he started the practice of law, being city attorney of Lafayette and elected judge of the city court in 1952, serving until his retirement in 1993. He also served as judge pro tem as the Louisiana Court of Appeal, 3rd Circuit, 1992. Judge Kaliste has received numerous awards and honors for improvement of the administration of justice from local, state, and national organizations, including Distinguished Jesuit and other recognition from the American, Louisiana and Lafayette Bar Association and National Center of State Courts, the American Judges Association, Mississippi State University Pre-Law Society, and an eminent scholar chair of the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. By presidential appointment, he served on the National Highway Traffic Administration and was honored with the highest national award of the U.S. Department of Transportation for outstanding service as chair in a nationwide 55-mile-per-hour program. He delivered lectures on judicial subjects and participated in numerous conferences, such as the White House Conference on Children and Youth, the Ball and Criminal Justice Project, by invitation of the U.S. Attorney General, a comparative law presentation with the British and American judges in London, England, and numerous judicial conferences throughout the United States. He has assisted in drafting national and state codes and laws, such as the Uniform Trade Code of the National Council on Uniform Traffic Laws, the Louisiana Code of Criminal Procedure, the Louisiana Code of Civil Procedure, Louisiana Children's Code, the Small Claims Court, and the United States of Congress Drunk Driving Prevention Act, in helping establish the Lafayette Parish Juvenile Detention Home for Delinquents. Served as the Louisiana Youth Commission Chairman on the Judicial Council of Louisiana Supreme Court and on the Board of National Center for the State Courts in Williamsburg, Virginia. Judge Kaliste is the past president of the Louisiana City Judges Association, of the Louisiana Council of Juvenile Court Judges, and a past national vice chairman of the American Bar Association Traffic Court Program. In 1999, Judge Saloom received a prestigious U.S. Supreme Court Chief Justice Warren E. Burger Society Award presented in Washington, D.C. In 2006, Judge Saloom was inducted into the second annual Louisiana State Justice Hall of Fame. The more recent recognition has included inducted July 18, 2009 into an Order of Living Legends Acadia Museum Hall of Fame in Erath, Louisiana. Recipient League of the Women Voters 2013 Outstanding Public Service Award recipient. And his Sons of the American Revolution Patriotism Medal in 2014. Recipient Honor Achievement 2014 ULL B.I. Moody III College of Business Hall of Fame Awards. Featured Honoree 2014 Spring Quarter Senior Resource Guide cover and coming induction September 4, 2014 into the annual Lafayette Bar Association Hall of Fame. An expression of judicial philosophy by Honorable Kaliste Jason is in achieving justice. Constitutionally, it is essential that a judge adhere and apply the rule of law principle. This approach is fundamental of the judicial process. Nevertheless, the existence is dependent upon understanding and support by all. In courts of first instance, it is basically an impression of last resort. Thus, the role of the trial judge is his explanation of the rule of law as applied to the factual issues, all effectuous educational tools, recruiting the public and attendance, and also lawyers. In befitting tribute was paid in Judge Kaliste Saloom upon the occasion of being announced recipient of the 1965 Civic Cup Award, read by Miss Inez Nealon, and also a young lady by Mrs. Louise Chadwell. They read this poem, and the poet is unknown, but it tells the story. God gives us men at a time like this, demands strong minds, great hearts, true faith, and ready hands. Men whom the yoke of the office cannot kill. When whom the spoils of office it cannot buy, and they possess his opinions and a will. Men cannot lie. Men who brave the fight without fluttering. This rule of law, this ruled by God in public duty and in private thinking. Judge, we probably could have put a lot more into this, but you had such a great life. Thank you very much for being with us.
I'm very grateful to be a native of Lafayette, Louisiana. I ask you to look back upon the history of this community and vision what we have come from and where we're headed, I'm very proud to have been born here. My parents, I'm grateful that they came to Lafayette as immigrants and settled when the community was small. But it was a chance for me, born in Lafayette, to grow up and learn from the inhabitants of Lafayette what it means to be a great community and a great institution. I am very happy that I can speak here as the son of immigrants and say that I've always felt I was old enough to fit into Lafayette from the time of George Washington. And through my schools and through my efforts in trying to serve it in the community, I give credit to those who encouraged me to seek public life. You know, I came out of World War II and started a law practice, and it was very difficult, very uncertain, but somehow the powers that be in Lafayette pointed out that I would make a fine city attorney. I remember J.J. Davidson Sr. encouraging me, saying, "You are young, I'll help you. I used to be city attorney," he said, "and I'll do all I can. We want the young people to pick up the reins in Lafayette and move forward." That made me very confident that I could do what turned out to be a very difficult job. Lafayette in itself had become stagnant. The Depression, the war, had left a lot of things undone. There were actually more people outside the city than inside the city. And my first effort with a veteran mayor, with who had served in World War II, with a veteran trustee of finance who had served in World War I, and with a plain citizen, a good, hard-working man as trustee of public property. That was our form of government. We had a three-man form of government, a very unique type of government. We were not ruled by an elected legislative committee. We were ruled by three trustees. I thought it was a good chance then to move forward. It was easy. You got 2 out of 3 votes and you could do a lot of things. In 1949, we decided to go and build the community and awaken it from its lethargic existence of the past. We voted in the confidence of the people, voted what was considered a tremendous $10 million bond issue at the time, realizing that the dollar was worth a lot more in 1949 than it is today. I look back and have seen Lafayette grow. Where we're standing now is rural. It was outside the city. You almost had to fill your tank full of gasoline before you could get here, and this was all rural. It was forming. Then we took off. Lafayette took off. It became the metropolitan city of South Louisiana. You have to remember, we in one sense, we were younger than some of the other cities of the area. Our good neighbors on the north, Opelousas, the good neighbors on the northeast, St. Martin, all of those cities were bigger than us at the beginning. But for some reason, and I found a reason, I often wondered, was it our location? Was it the railroad? Was it the university established here? Was it the religious center that Lafayette has become? Was it the medical center? I couldn't decide what was the most responsible one. then very easily, my wife said, I believe it's because of the great people we have in this community that we are such a big and prospering city. And that is you the property owners, you the taxpayers, you the employers, you the workers, whatever you may have. It's because of your contribution to the economy and the living conditions of Lafayette that we stand out as one of America's great model citizens. I'm very proud of Lafayette when I go elsewhere. They always look forward and ask me, why are you called Lafayette? I said, well, I had to decide, and I had a French teacher tell me, if you spell Lafayette L-A-F-A-Y-E-T-T-E, or if you spell it capital L-A, capital F-A-Y, you have two cities in one. One is Lafayette and the other is Lafayette. I would like to say that I'd adhere to both pronunciations, Lafayette or Lafayette. When I grew up in this community, basic French patois was heard on the streets. My mother ran a ladies' store, and I can remember walking into the store and more French was spoken and less English until we learned that the public schools said they were having a hard time giving English lessons to our young students, and they insisted that French be shelved and that we continue to learn English and learn English as it should be. Of course, I went to the Brothers School, and many of the teachers were from France, so I was able to preserve my little knowledge of French, and it turned out to be a boon for me. In entering World War II, I had a law degree, I had a bachelor's degree, yet the big question was, can you speak any foreign language? I said, well, I was raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, and if you want to call what we talk about in Lafayette a foreign language, then I qualify. It was indeed a great comeback for me to remember that my French teachers always tried to encourage me to learn my language, to learn the French language. And when I went to college, I started with Spanish. And then someone said, if you're going to be a lawyer and study the Napoleonic Code, you better know how to read and write French, because many of the old documents are written in that language. Many of your clients will be people who speak French. So somehow I went along, and that was no mistake. That was a blessing. In World War II, because of some knowledge of French and my experience with the different types of people, I was able to get into what was called a counterintelligence corps of World War II. I was taken out of OCS. I was then sent to a special training group, and later I was dropped in North Africa, where I made good use of my training in a language that had been given to me in the past. I love Lafayette because it's a community with no limits. You can be what you want to be in Lafayette if you seek it. You must merit it, and it's very important that you appreciate that the opportunity is there. I tell young people when I address them in the past that you don't have to be a millionaire, but you have to be dedicated. You have to be dedicated in the spirit of America, in the spirit of liberty, the spirit of justice. I'm very happy that some of this was inculcated into me in my beginning. My parents, my dear mother, was left with 7 children. I was number 5 of the 7. My father died at the early age of 39. And I always look back and say what a wonderful person she was, to sacrifice her time and her lifetime to educating her children and to making us appreciate this great community of Lafayette. Again, Lafayette is a great community, not because of the streets and the highways and the roads, but because of you, the people. You make this community, and you've made it great. Thank you for the opportunity of talking.
The judge is willing to answer questions, and if you're going to do that, please come up to the mic, because we have a gentleman that's filming, and we do get on AOC frequently. So if there's a question that you'd like to ask to the judge, we would entertain that now. And we have, I think, one coming up. And it's probably going to be a good question, Mr. Bob Lowe. Thank you, Bob.
I first came to Lafayette in 1952. Judge Saloom was one of the first people I met when I came here, and I have followed his career all the way through, and I've been always impressed. Today I made a speech to the Sertoma Club, and this is the first time. The speech I made was not as long as the introduction of Kaliste Saloom. However, you know, when you cover that many years of service, you have to recognize all the things that happened. Kaliste Saloom has been a real asset to Lafayette. He's one of the reasons that Lafayette is recognized as one of the greatest places in America to live. He's done his part. Now, I have a question for Kaliste Saloom. When the flood of 1927 came along, he was just a teenager at the time, I know, but I know he saw the water come up in Jefferson Street. There was knee-deep water, as I recall, someplace in Jefferson Street. I'd like to ask the judge, with the climate change going on, all the information going on about it, how deep was the water on Jefferson Street in 1927, and could that happen again?
I hate to be the teacher correcting him. It was 1942 that the water reached Jefferson Street. What Bob had reference to was the great flood of 1927, in which all of South Louisiana was inundated. The levees had broken, the Chapel Isle levees had broken, and practically everything east of us was underwater. Some places, like St. Martin Parish, I remember going as a 9-year-old kid, family riding, and we saw watermarks on buildings. Many homes in many places had just drained off the water. There was always that great fear that it might happen again. But fortunately for us, we've developed a better levee system. The levee system that we have existing on our east side protects all of South Louisiana much better than the 1927 levees. So, Bob, being a little older than you are, I had to make that correction.
Dad, while you're up, you know, there's some hot topics in the community today, like LUS, and I know you were, and several others, very instrumental in keeping the electric company here. I know you've said many a time that to lose it would be very unfortunate for our community. Why don't you give a little history of LUS as you were involved?
It'll be a very brief history. Of course, there's two schools of thought. One school of thought is that the community should not operate in business. And I used to face that problem. Why do you promote your electrical? Why do you promote your street paving? Why do you promote your water system? Why do you promote your sewage system? Well, those are not money makers, the sewage system, the water system, and the road system. but the electric system is. I said, you have to value the two. If you take one, the good one, what happens to the community? Well, Lafayette historically has taken its profits from the electric system. Profits were considerable, but they were given over to the city in lieu of taxes. Therefore, the city of Lafayette has some of the lowest per diem taxes, ad hoc, or whatever it is, taxes of any major city in the United States. Most of the taxes we pay here are for other entities, school board, the state of Louisiana, but the community itself collects very little in the way of taxes except for bond issues that they have to repay. I'm very proud of what Lafayette has done, and I'd say it's not easy when you get in the political arena. And that's why it's important that the citizens understand getting into the political arena is very important, that you vote, that you understand what your community is doing, and that you speak out. Because Lafayette, of course, has led the way of all the cities in South Louisiana. I can remember when some cities were larger and more populated than Lafayette, and Lafayette has left them in the past. We have gone forward. Lafayette's future is still with us.
That Raging Cajun football is as good as it's ever been. Now, why don't you tell them about your first football game involving the Cajuns?
Well, I lived 3 blocks from the old SLII. In fact, I was born in 18 and it was called SLII. When I got old enough to walk and run in the neighborhood, it was SLI, and the great football player that we had here was a red-headed boy from West Louisiana by the name of Christian Keena Red Cagle, who became one of America's greatest football players when he ended up at West Point in the East. I watched him play behind this Martin Hall when the only stadium with bleachers that were laid out along the sidelines. But we were all enthused, so from very beginning, I was encouraged to play, and I love football, I love the university. Of course, at Cathedral, which was one of my high schools, one of Lafayette's high schools, I was a substitute, and our first team quarterback was injured in an accident, not on the football field, on a hunting trip. And the coach looked at me, he says, you don't weigh too much, but you look good to me. And I became the quarterback. It was said when I'd gain a few yards, said, yes, I'd sneak under the center and nobody would see me coming. I'd run for 5 or 10 yards. Said that's what made me a good football player. They couldn't see me. Well, that is not exactly it, but it shows despite when things go wrong, when everything seems to be helpless, you can always stand up and do what's right and go for it. I believe in Lafayette as a community has not seen its best days yet. I think your children and your grandchildren will see this community. We must not neglect. We do have some hindrances, geographical hindrances, the great cost of building roadways, our great neglected Vermilion River, which could have served as a great inland port. Maybe it's too late, but Lafayette has the railroad, it has the other transportation methods. We have the oil center, which means so much. But above all of that, we have great religious institutions here. We have great educational institutions here. And above all of that, we have great people. And I'm proud to be a citizen of Lafayette.
Tom Andrews. The Andrews family and the Saloom family have been friends for a long time. First thing I want to mention is that many of the family and other friends have been trying to get Judge Saloom to write his memoirs. And I think it's time for the judge to address that issue. As you allegedly approach middle age, it's time to consider it before you resume your travel schedule or something else, Judge. A bunch of the kids have talked about it, and I think it's a great idea, and my publishing family associates will help you get it done. We even offered to bring him a dictaphone to use at home in his lounge chair, so we can make it real easy. We hope you'll start on that soon. I'm an attorney. My very first job was given to me by Judge Saloom as a law clerk when I was still in law school, and I've often shared an experience I had that moved me deeply. You'll all remember the case of Dalton Prejean. Well, before Dalton Prejean murdered the police officer, he murdered the taxi driver. And when I was serving as a law clerk, Dalton Prejean appeared before Judge Saloom, and Judge Saloom very deliberately began speaking, and he told him, he said, "Mr. Prejean," he said, "I want you to know, and I want the record to reflect, that what you did was, I think what you did was cold-blooded murder. I think you know right from wrong, and I want you to know, and I'm required by state law to sentence you to the juvenile detention facilities, but I want you to know, and the record to reflect, that if it was within my power, I would have you put to death." I thought it was a very unbelievable one. It sounded like I was on the set of a Hollywood movie or something. And I asked the judge later, I said, "Judge, that's an incredible statement." He said, "Well, you didn't know everything I knew." He said, Prejean had also beaten up an old lady in the graveyard and left her for dead. So the judges get information before sentencing. But I think what it shows is the wisdom of Judge Saloom, and it shows his commitment to the public safety of every citizen, which is an extraordinary trait for a judge. This judge is always committed to the public safety and well-being of every citizen, and showed extraordinary wisdom. And I only regret that the law required him to retire at 70. He probably would still be serving at about 96. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you all. I'm sure some of the family was aware of that incident. But Judge, we really want you to write your memoirs. It'd be fabulous, you know. I'll help you. My brother, who's a career journalist, I'm just a lawyer who plays with publishing on the side. But my brother, who's a career journalist, he'll help, and he'll get other people to bring it to fruition. So please consider it. Thank you very much.
Is there another question out there? Judge, if you have something you want to closing remarks, you're more than welcome to do that, or it's not mandatory.
Except to say that you represent what I've always hoped for, to live through in Lafayette. Remember, this is a great place. It's a great community. It's up to you to preserve it and develop it for yourself and your family and your children. Thank you for allowing me to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Judge. We have a young lady that comes to most of all our meetings, and I told her if we had a little bit of time. Also, I have a meeting coming up that Ray Green, I believe, may want to say a word. I don't know on that. So anyhow, Marlene, if you can come up and give us the presentation that you'd like us to evaluate and think about.
Thank you for allowing me a few minutes to rant. I'm going to try to be calm. because these issues, one of them in particular really gets to me. But I'll start with the illegal immigration. I want to say, first of all, I'm not biased. I walk the middle of the road. I'm not Democrat, I'm not Republican. I watch both sides. But all this illegal immigration that's going on is really terrible. How are we going to take care of these people? But don't blame just, I hear people saying the president's opening up the doors and letting them in. Society is also letting them in. There are churches, there are groups of people who are giving them shelter, food, and clothing. So let's look at the whole picture. Well, that's all I have to say about immigration. This next subject really hits me. I answered the question of the week in the Daily Advertiser today, and I don't know if it's going to be published. They may not agree with me. But I answered it in the form of questions. Of course, you all know the big news in Lafayette area about the pedophile priest at St. Edmunds. And the question was, should this Reverend Dutel remain with the church? Well, I answered that in the form of questions. Is the Catholic Church immune to law enforcement? The victims have received millions of dollars. It's part of the settlement that they must keep their mouths shut. Is the church so powerful that law enforcement is afraid of them? What grounds does law enforcement have to allow the church to determine guilt? How does the law allow the bishop to hide the names of pedophiles? It makes headline news when public pedophiles are caught. The pedophile's name is always revealed and prosecuted. The church just moves them from one parish to another. I believe that we in society are to blame for allowing the church to be their own government. Do I have any comments? Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. Ray, did you want to come up and,
I'd like to take a quick poll if I could.
okay, I mean, is that a position you get ready to run for or something?
Senator Green. Go ahead. Tell a couple of stories. It'll take me a minute to get there. People always say, don't run, don't run. I say, don't worry, don't worry. My wife this morning called me an old man. I said, I am not an old man. Just because I use a caddy when I play miniature golf, I'm not an old man.
That's what it looks like.
Thank you. I have arrived. I have one basic question. I could ask about 10, but I have one basic question. To all public and elected officials who must raise their hand and swear to God to uphold the Constitution of the United States, how in the world can they do that when most of them don't have the foggiest idea what it says? Presently, I have 2 Louisiana state senators and 3 Louisiana representatives, plus 2 members of the city council who's going to bring it up for a vote on the 19th of this month, and I will be down there asking them for their support to support our suggestion. And here is the website if you'd like to look it up. It's commonsense3project.com. Look it up and you'll find some very interesting questions. The first question, of course, is what I just presented. What we're trying to do is to try to get a bill passed that says that all elected and appointed officials should have to take a basic constitutional awareness quiz. I don't think that's asking too much. Could I have a, shall we say, an unscientific poll? Could I see the hands of everybody who thinks that that's a good idea? See, we kind of got the politicians between a rock and a hard place. They have to swear to God to uphold that Constitution. I want to see just one of 7,189 politicians in Louisiana tell me, no, it's not necessary to know a little bit about the Constitution. Could I see the poll again? Everybody that thinks it, okay. Thank you, Bob, and the rest of you. Thank you. And if you would, come down to the City Council the night before the council, that will be the next meeting of the organization here, and I will be here to remind you once again because we need it. It is a good bill, and we got the City Council, I think, is going to support it. Thank you, and God bless.
I'd like to ask our good friend, Dr. Reeves. I know he's got an update on fluoride and the organization that we've talked about, but this is a good time maybe to tell this group where we are on that. Jim Reeves, he's a retired professor from UL. He's been a great member, and he's got great information on the environment, by the way.
You can tell we've gotten to the bottom of the barrel. And we start with a famous judge and end with fluoride and a person from used to be at UL. I'll make it quick. I've talked to you before about fluoride. There's not a whole lot going on in the state of Louisiana, but there's quite a bit going on around the country and around the world. The surprising thing is the politicians are starting to catch on because the people are forcing the issue. We have grassroots movement in various places that are bringing this to the attention of city councils and even state government, and they're gradually having to respond. And the response is often, as what's happening now, is a referendum. And that is a good thing, because if history shows anything, it's that any time a referendum is held on fluoride, the promoters of that lose 80% of the time. So we're in good shape if we can get an election to put that out. And I think this all goes back to the information on the internet. You know, before the internet, we could not get those kind of stories out. The truth could be covered up very easily. No longer can you cover up the truth. It's out there. You can read it. I can read it. Everyone can see it. So the battle is going on. We have places like Portland, Oregon, who last year voted opposing fluoridation, even though they're one of the most liberal cities in the country. And part of the reason is because 99.5% of that toxic waste fluoride goes down through the sewer and out into the river, and they're trying to conserve their salmon. So to dump that into their waters would be a terrible thing. So there's a lot of reasons why it is not a good practice. Many other cities have done the same thing. College Station in Texas, the various places in Kansas. So we're starting to see that happening around the world. In Australia, Queensland is like a state, like a district, a huge state in Australia. They've allowed the districts to vote independently on fluoride, and most of them have now voted it out. And of course, the people promoting it are quite upset about it, but nevertheless, it's happening, and I'm very happy to see that. So I'll end with that and not get into specific details unless you have questions. Thank you.
We try to give at least an hour to be able to do the taping.
Sharon Campbell has the statement.
I've got. She's not going to be talking. She's a little bashful. I was trying to get her to come up here and do that, which I will attempt to take her place for sure. I can't take that lady's place, but I'm going to try to get the information to you. Is there any comments, Larry? You have any comments? We have a little bit of time. We're trying to make sure we have 55, 58 minutes for the film because AOC wants a certain amount.
I think it's impressive the judge brings his own family with him. Shows that they're sticking with him, staying with him. And that's good.
Okay. All right, that's it? You're kind of bashful tonight, Larry. But you usually say a little more than that.
Hard to argue with a man with those qualifications.
Well, we appreciate you, Larry. Thank you very much. Is there any comments in that before I give a couple of announcements? Mr. Angus? Okay. Bob? I'd like to go ahead and at least let all of you know that there's an event August 19th sponsored by Acadiana Republican Women's Club, River Oaks Cafeteria, Kaliste Saloom Road, 6:30 to 9:30. The speaker would be Christine Hall. She's an attorney from Russia, and she speaks very good English, and she will be making a presentation, and you need to contact a lady by the name of Donna Peltier, and that number is 993-8282. And if there's any questions, that you come up and get these numbers at the end of the meeting, and I'll be happy to share that with you.
Do you know the agenda for that meeting?
What?
Do you know the agenda for that meeting? You know the agenda?
No, I don't know. Well, Karen, you have to come and tell these people. She's just a bashful Republican.
No, I'm not really. I just have a bad cold.
Come on up here.
Information here. The speaker for the meeting will be Chris Ann Hall. She is from Florida. She will be speaking on the Constitution. She's a constitutional lawyer. And the public is invited. It's from 6:30 until 9:30. And Donald Peltier is the president of the Acadiana Republican Women, and for reservations you need to call 993-8282. She travels the country teaching the United States Constitution and the history they gave us, our founding documents. I apologize for, I have a cold, sorry.
I'd like to announce that our next meeting will be 2 weeks from tonight, the 18th of this month. I think it'd be important for you. Anybody want to know more about our utility system? We have Mr. Huval, Terry Huval will be speaking at this meeting, and I don't know if you followed it in the recent days, but we do have a problem in this community as far as the lack of availability of electricity for the expanding community. The subdivisions that are being built between here and I think it's Youngsville, they are getting to the point where they can't furnish the necessary utilities. So, you need to come to the meeting and find we need to do something about it and to be able to help. And I know people don't like taxes around here, but I'll tell you one thing. If you don't have utilities, you don't have what it's going to take to get people in this community. And it's keeping your particular bill, it'll keep it within reason with having that kind of participation. So I would like and would want everybody to come if they possibly can, because this could be an important thing. And Terry has the information and you'll be able to ask the questions. If there's no other questions, I'd like to take time out and adjourn the meeting. I appreciate all of you coming here this evening, and especially having you, Judge, always. It's been a real pleasure having you. Thank you. We expect you to come back. Okay? Thanks again. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.